Welcome to the apiary. This is Jake Beeman with Golden Fox Farms. Today I'm not in my apiary, I'm in someone else's. One of the things about being a master beekeeper and a resource to your beekeeping community is you occasionally get calls out for less than pleasant visits, and this is one of those. This is a sometimes client of mine. I sold her some equipment and gave her occasional advice, and she reached out to me because she had 3 out of 4 colonies dead in her yard, and she wanted to know what happened. The reality is, the only way to know is to go to that yard and look in those hives, and that is what I'm here doing. Anytime I hear about a lot of mortality in the fall, this is November, December time period, or even as early as October, I'm thinking varroa. So usually it becomes a game of seeing if it is or isn't varroa and going from there. I have been in this yard before. We actually did mite washes in this yard in June. Now, that alcohol wash found 3 of the 4 colonies had near 2% counts. The second colony in actually had a 0 count. So she was directed at that time to treat the 3 hives that had mite presence with Formic Pro. Just because this is early in the year, there's a lot of cap brood, and Formic Pro is pretty reliable for knocking mites out. Now that said, she did not follow up after those treatments. She didn't do any more washes or any more treatments for the rest of the season. Now that said, she has some pretty good excuses why she didn't get to that. She had a stroke and heart surgery while pregnant during this time period, so I'm not going to throw the first stone with that one. Uh, but there is a time gap there where the varroa could have gotten in and just gone nuts. And we'll examine that on a calendar basis here in a little bit. In a perfect world, she would have been back in these hives in August and doing further mite washes and doing further treatment controls as needed. And that might have belayed the situation, but what we find is the mite numbers she had end up just being catastrophic. And this is particularly telling because these are hives with known mite resistant qualities. These numbers are just incredibly high that we get out of these hives for the varroa counts, and it raises questions about our models and how we control varroa and how we approach varroa as an industry. But we'll go ahead and get into these inspections. I was wearing a microphone for these inspections. She was not, so her voice is very faint. She didn't want to be on camera for this, but where applicable, I will sub her answers in pop-ups on the bottom of the screen. Thank you for joining. This is full of food still. Forgot how stiff this one was. How small the box it is. Yeah. Well, no. They're all a little different in size. I know that we say, oh, they're all standard. No, they're not. They're not standard at all. Ooh. And this is a dead. Well, you don't want to be in the shot. Ah, geez. That's a lot of bloom. Bloom. That blueness there. This is. It's the light waxes are more mobile within the wax. These smaller compounds are more mobile, so they come to the surface and they make that color. That's why wax candles get that frost look to them. And is that a bad thing, a good thing? It's just a thing. It's some people think it negatively impacts the hive, but really it suggests the hive died or something. Okay, this hive has like no population at all. That's most of the bees right there. Now, varroa kills. The sick bees go out the front door. And there's so few bees in here, that's my inclination, is to assume a varroa kill. They certainly didn't starve. Certainly did not starve. Um, and on the bottom board, there's maybe 20 dead bees. Now, what's interesting? when you have a varroa kill, in my experience, oh, there's a mite right there. I'll bring this over to you so you can see it a little closer here in a second.
That's the one I saw a mite on top of one of the bees when I opened it up too.
Yeah. What I was going to say is, if it's a varroa kill, in my experience, the queen is always still in here. If it wasn't a varroa kill...
Well, this is the one I thought the queen may have died.
Yes. That ain't a queen.
Okay. That's not...
No, I think this was queenless. I think it was.
Okay.
And
that's just why it died.
yeah, and a queenless hive, it just dwindles.
Right.
Most of them switch to laying workers at some point. Let me look at this one. Now that said, this one is a little... I'll hold up to my camera so the camera sees it. Oh, and then I'll show it to you. You see how this bee has this shortened abdomen? This is a classic sign of deformed wing virus B. This is also known as varroa destructor virus in older documents. That said, it can be even more severe than this, and the abdomen can end up almost spade-shaped from the amount it is shrunken by the virus's effects. Because I don't see a queen, I am contemplating if it was queen failure compounded by mite failure.
Right.
We can do a quick wash on these bees. Let me figure out how I'm going to get them into your wash container. I'm undoubtedly going to lose some mites doing this, but Beltsville will say it's a mite kill if it's just like a 2% count. So, yeah. Now, I think they're a little bit too assertive in that, because it's not smoking gun levels of mites. If it's like, I've opened up a dead out that was obviously a mite kill because the bees have multiple mites on them. This one, we saw a mite, which is a lot considering how many bees are in here. That's probably a 1% just with that one mite we saw. Ooh. So this one might turn out just to be an old-fashioned queen failure. One of these frames had some more dead bees on it. I'm going to grab them too. They can't survive very long with all that. That's the extent of the bees in there. And when they get varroa sick, they go out the front door. The reason why I'm thinking it might still be varroa is they didn't go into laying workers mode, which is a somewhat common scenario when they're like this. I'm going to put this hive back together because I also know that one of the frames close to me has a few more dead bees on it. That one. I'm going to finish putting this hive back together. Good news! That's conclusive. So there's not any mystery as to what actually killed them. And another layer of that is you can use this equipment without any concern. You can throw this on another hive willy-nilly, which is really the more important thing to figure out in some respects. Yeah, so if we assume that was a quarter cup of bees, instead of dividing by 3, well, we could divide by 3 still, then just multiply it by 2. That's 60, 61, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 70, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 76. 76 divided by 3 times 2. That's going to be right around 50, because 75 divided by 3. Yeah. So 50% might count. And this is kind of the crux of what I'm going to talk about, is we're going to keep losing bees forever until we kind of have that come to Jesus moment and realize everyone needs to switch to resistant stocks. Because you check This one?
That one was 0.
This one was 0.
0.
Which means they didn't make mites the whole year.
I know, even if I didn't like count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't have errors with counting. Like if you don't put enough alcohol in the wash cup, you're just splashing it. You're not flushing it.
Well, you did it.
Oh, did we do that together once? Oh, we did.
Yeah, and you were pumped.
Yes, that's right. As I should be.
I know.
The stuff works. The problem is you have to be in an environment that doesn't kill it afterwards. I'm going to pull this koozie off. I mean, really, what this is going to do right now is just hold water against this thing. So if these colonies are gone, just for maintenance sake, we'll want to get rid of that. Did you put that wad in there?
No.
Oh, there's a hole in the bag. Get a mouse move in. We can put that straight in the trash. It's not going to be worth salvaging. You did an excellent job feeding these. An excellent job feeding these. Because this thing is full of food. Okay. Yeah, like it is full of food.
Yeah, that one is the one I harvested honey from.
Heavy. Okay. And there's where the cluster was. And yeah, this one just, same story. There's no bees in here.
Oh, really?
I mean, there's bees, but the minor.
And you said that the mites kick them out?
Well, the mites don't kick them out. When the bees are sick, they do something called, altruistic suicide. Or they self-eliminate from the hive because they know they're sick. And that's exactly it. They're pretty awesome in that respect.
Yeah, that one,
No. Yeah, and if it had a lot of bees when you're in here last, either they didn't make any winter bees or they went out the front door. Those are the two explanatory options. We might even be able to see the mites on the bottom of this one, because this one has a solid bottom board. November 4th. How big did it look to you? Like a physical object size thing? Oh, if we can have the tub. Yeah, how much of a population? Like, was it the size of a soccer ball?
Oh, yeah, I mean, at least.
At least a soccer ball, maybe basketball size.
Yeah.
Like some of my hives, I opened one for the brood check, and I popped the top into single, and this back here is solid honey, and this was just bees everywhere. It's just huge.
I think both of them were full, like both brood boxes.
Oh, okay, that's plenty of bees. Yeah, I mean, that's a good size for our winter populations. I find it interesting we didn't see the queen in that hive.
In this one?
In that last one. There's still time to find her in this one. Now, I put a video up like in the past 2 days where I go through a varroa kill. Did you see that?
No.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to be repeating myself. That is a classic varroa kill frame.
Right here?
Yes, right here. And the reason why is they're dead. Even when they're dead, their little grabbers are pretty dang effective. Woo! And it's just kind of, you get these, like you can see they're chewing stuff down here at one point, and that bee died on emergence there. And the only thing I've seen that causes that is either chilling or varroa kills. And in fairness, both could have happened in a hive when it's collapsing like this. But you'll get this kind of spotty brood pattern, and you'll get these pinholes in the cappings. Okay. And that's the bees. They're trying to be, hygienic and take care of the sick stuff. They're just outgunned. And you can see this side is even more spotty in that regard. I need to try to remember to point stuff towards the camera as I do this. I'm not the best video taker. Yeah, it's just kind of more of the same really loose spotty pattern and no bees. I was on the phone with this morning because I had some questions for him. He had some questions for me. He runs about, he'll run up to 1,000 hives, but he was running about 600 this year. He had to treat his bees like 9 times this year.
Okay,
now, he runs commercial stock, which has a lot less varroa resistance than these do.
Right.
And that's part of it. Go through all the effort, then dump them on the ground. Now, that's kind of interesting they made this propolis here.
Yeah.
That is a pretty good sign you're not working with Italian bees. No, but where I was going with that varroa thing is, your counts were at 0. It has to be coming from the community. And until we realize that there's bees swarming, and if we bring in non-resistant stocks that swarm, they collapse in the fall.
Yeah.
And when they collapse in the fall, either those bees drift, or the bees in your hives go rob and bring that stuff back. And that's where the model kind of breaks down at. There's a hornet. You want your yellow jacket?
Yeah, I saw several yellow jackets out here.
There are some mites on the bottom of this. Actually, I'll just lean this camera in just for a second. Oh! If we look in here, and this might be too close for my camera to even read it, you can see some of these mites. Like there's one there.
Oh, yep.
One there. One there.
Oh, yeah.
One there. And once your eye starts to look for these things,
there's like more and
you
more.
start to see them everywhere.
Yeah,
and I know we don't have 200 bees in here, so if we see more than 6 on the bottom,
yeah.
Now that said, they might have fallen a while ago, so we'll count the actual ones on the bees themselves. Again, this is kind of weird. I haven't seen the queen yet. Doesn't mean I just didn't overlook her. But usually the queen's stuck on a frame dead. I say usually. It's been forever since I've had these. I should rephrase that. Varroa kills happen all the time. It's just I don't go terribly involved when I search through these things. Because why would you?
Look at all these mites.
Oh, are they in the actual tub? Oh, they're already bouncing off, aren't they? Already bouncing off. Well, tell you what, you hold this thing about here, and I'll sweep the mites out the front door like I did the last one. Actually, I can't. This hive's set up differently. I'll take the hive apart as I scratch your paint job off of there. Yeah, we'll take that off here. And I'm going to try not to scrape the bottom terribly much, just because I don't want to sweep in the mites that are possibly old and fallen off. Yeah, that's classic varroa kill. Warning sign is the population's gone. Because, like, if it's paralysis, they tend to die in the hive. They're still there. If now some paralysis viruses, the bees will kind of go outside and shake around and disappear into the woods, but when the hive finally collapses, they're all in there. If it's starvation, there's a pile of dead bees in there, but these hives didn't starve. You did a great job getting them fed to weight. I'll give you that. And dragging my fingers through here open, palm style, I'm leaving most of these mites behind. And this is one of the aggravating things about, we know my bees are capable of keeping mites off of themselves. We've seen that. We've documented that.
Right.
And there's so many mites, there's even a mite in the cup still.
So is that other hive at risk of...
Oh, absolutely.
What
can we do? Well, oxalic it on Thursday. Okay. That is oxalic is close to a 99% effective.
And you can do that pretty much any time of year.
No.
But I mean, oh my God, this is insane.
There's still mites on my fingers. Oh my gracious. That might be a record maker right there. I'm going to put this hive back together while you finish that shakeroo. With it having so much, you might need to spend like just 20 seconds doing this little round motion. Just to kind of get them spiraling down, just because there's so much in there. Yep.
So, do these mice live on anything else? Like
Just bees. Oh, well, the apis. They live on apis. And we don't know of anything else in the states these would live on. This is actually a pest of the Apis cerana, which is the Asian, like, dwarf bee, is where they originally came from. But those are raised in parallel in Southeast Asia, and just eventually they made the crossover. The special jump, like we're constantly waiting on swine flu to do, or whatever else.
So do you think part of the problem is people are buying like bees commercially raised that aren't?
Yes. This week in particular, I don't know if you're on Facebook, but like I'm getting flooded by ads for it claims to have, depending which article, self-published article you read, 20 to 14,000 hives. And like the reality is, you can go on the commercial beekeeper Facebook group and see this guy going, hey, I need another 4,000 packages. He's just buying bees. He's a broker, buying bees from wherever and trucking them in. And like they're advertising, well, you all should get some of our bees. And they're not even their bees. They're just buying somebody else's and dropping it. And like, you saw how well my bees did.
Yeah.
If you only had those bees in an area, you're good.
Right.
You're good. It's going to take care of itself. And until we kind of have that public health moment that we have to realize the sick bees go out and kill the good bees. So we need to stop supporting these sick bees. Until that happens, we're going to be on this train until the varroa stop working. Which is, frankly, it's coming. It's coming, yes. Well, that guy I was talking to on the phone, he was wondering if Apiguard stopped working. And in fairness, Apiguard is one of those ones we kind of expect to work forever because it has multiple modes of action, so it should still function. But the reality he was seeing was he was not getting a successful knockdown with it. It just was not doing the trick.
Take a picture of
This is absurd.
I know. That's crazy.
That's
zero.
That's a record keeper.
That's insane.
I can't count this because it's too high to count. But what I will do is I'll take that picture and print it out zoomed up.
Oh, okay.
And just with a pen go through and pick each dang mite. That is incredible. That is incredible.
You can measure them. It looks like a teaspoon of mites.
Good news. All your equipment can be reused. There's no big issues.
But so what is, like, if I were to put these in here in the spring, you're just saying all the mites are going to die over the winter?
All the mites that are in here are dead. They're dead or gone onto another hive.
So they don't last. They can't live long.
They can't live without a host.
Okay.
Now, I don't remember how long mites can live without a host.
Okay.
It might be like, it's not even a week.
Okay.
And like tropalaelaps, which is the one they're trying to doom scare us all in about. Tropalaelaps, if it doesn't have brood to feed on, in 3 days it dies.
Okay.
And like package bees, which is like, oh, they're going to ship tropalaelaps to Canada and package bees. Well, by the time the person making package bees in Australia gets the bees in the boxes and on the plane and to Canada, it's been like 5 days. So all the tropalaelaps, if there was tropalaelaps, will have died. And one of the downsides, though, is it is very hard to control what's going on in your neighborhood, night-wise. You're kind of along for the ride with your neighbors, what they do or don't do. Like you had some commercial stock that barely survived. Well, when we got here, they had swarmed already.
Right.
So to an extent, you yourself seeded the neighborhood with bees that we know will not survive. I have some mentees on there and towards the back. They had some commercial bees in their yard when I started with them, and they had them last year too. So who knows? How much did they seed out, so to speak? Oh, this is the saddest looking one yet. This one had a bunch of bees in it when it died. It was trying. They're all in the bottom box. This is one of those frames with the wires in the middle of it. I forgot about these. I forgot all about these things.
And I didn't know how to
Convenient. Oh, there's also a mouse nest in here.
Oh, there is?
Yes. So odds are, I'm going to slide this way just to get away from the hive that might be alive, because I don't want to disturb them any more than I have to.
Yeah.
If they're still going, let's leave them going.
I mean, they were when it was warm recently, like since I discovered all these hives.
Yeah.
They were up and out.
Now, you know what? This hive got robbed out as well. This hive was robbed out. The other ones had a lot of weight to them.
Yeah.
This one doesn't. Just go one into the other. I would honestly retire this one.
Yeah.
So I'll leave this sitting out.
Take it over here because this is my.
Oh, that's the graveyard.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think I'd make this go to the graveyard too.
I should trash that.
Well, maybe, if you want to keep this for posterity's sake.
No, it wasn't even. Yeah.
It was industrious. It was industrious. And I'd never. Can you see how crooked that is? Can you see that wave in there?
Yeah.
Sometimes, I know why that wave's in there. This board should never have been used because that's a knot. That's taking up 3/4 of that top part.
Okay.
Now it's trash before you even got it. Yeah. And here's where all the dead bees are going to be. Do we have the tub handy? I'm sure this is going to tell us the same story. And actually, I'm going to bet this one might have induced the other ones to an extent. A lot more bees in this one. Not enough bees.
So that little pinhole that's in the brood, is that an adult bee making that to kill the brood or to get an attempt to get the mite out?
We don't really know. The most plausible answer I've heard is they are doing that to better confirm if that cell is sick or otherwise. I always hate when they have. This one has relatively a lot of bees in it, and I always hate when that's the case. That said, we don't have to scratch the bottom board to get dead out for this one. And that's a pretty classic looking frame there for a varroa kill. They just kind of shrink. I realize some of them look like they might have been alive, but they're just stuck in there. And that is probably more than enough. I'll let you do that. Oh, look at all those bee legs. This one had all sorts of bee legs come out of it. All sorts of bee legs, and is that we can see it there. One of the things I want to do before I finish closing this up is show that mouse nest in there. Because you don't have a mouse guard on there. And really, if you have a row number like that, it supersedes any other diagnoses. Because like some of these bees, like this one has K-wing here, and depending who you ask, that might just be a post-mortem red herring. If you have a hive that doesn't have any other signs and symptoms and has that, paralysis will cause that same appearance.
Oh, okay. And it's possible that maybe the varroas got them weak and then they got cold that
actually,
one
if you can
night.
take a picture of that. Yeah, the reality is what happens is the varroa gets them sick, and the population just dwindles until they eventually collapse.
So this one bee may have died from.
Yeah, there's no reason to assume this was paralysis. Now, one of the things you can do with the dead bees on these things, you can usually knock most of them off. It just makes life a little easier. These were ones that are down in the cells. Makes it a little bit easier for your future bees in this colony to use it. Good news, this one's empty. Well, it's not empty, but it's lost a lot of its stuff. It's got empty frames. So when you go to split your survivor hive next year, or a nuke, or cat to swarm, I don't know. We'll pretend you're going to be a successful beekeeper going forward still. And you're not going to just give up and you can see there's a mouse nest back here, which is really what I was trying to show. And the mouse moved out because it's too cold. He said, I'm gone. But we'll go ahead and dump it out. Okay, and also we didn't have a mouse guard on this one. So.
And I put tape over that. Is this opening too big? Like,
it's a fine opening in terms of the opening for the bees. Like the reality for me is I leave that size opening all year.
Yeah.
I don't take it out. I don't put it in. It just stays there. Right. Okay. And that works for me well enough. Does this come apart? Yeah.
Going to be too big of an opening.
Yeah. No, it's fine. You felt the need to tape that one, but you left that one. You can put IPM boards in these things. That is more commonly what people will do when they have a screen bottom board. You know what an IPM board is? It's that piece of plastic you slide into this space here that seals it up on the bottom. And they work. But I also know, like, there's a guy named Rick Sullivan in Henry County. We just don't bother with it. There's the Quadros, and they'll put it in, but they'll have holes that big cut in it. So it just reduces the airflow. It doesn't stop it. Well, the good news is I don't have to call the state apiarist. I don't have to report a American foul brood incident or anything. And you don't want to be too violent with these because you'll bust your frame and the wax. But when you put a colony in here next year, they'll wipe that all out in short order. Let's talk about the findings and the ramifications, what we can learn from this. These hives were last checked and treated first week of June. Now I can tell you, I have access to several apiaries in this immediate area. There is this one. I have a Mentee operated yard, and I have a yard I operate under contract. All three of those yards applied Formic Pro at the same time under the same conditions. In the yard I operated in, I had 100% kill. I killed every mite in those hives. But my mentees did not have that experience. Their hives, on average, had the mite counts go up after the formic treatment. We checked the mite loads in their hives 4 weeks later. One of those hives had the mite load increase 8-fold. And in a nucleus colony without any drone brood, that is simply mathematically not possible to have the increase go that fast. So we know at a minimum that apiary had a big mite bomb hit at a minimum. And where I was going with that, I had a total kill and their numbers went up using the same product at the same time with the same conditions. That has to be effects outside of the hives. That has to be stuff coming in. And until we kind of pull our heads out of our keisters that if we don't have a community of healthy bees, we're going to always have sick bees. Uh, Unless we learn those lessons and stop working with these bees that just refuse to survive on their own, we're going to always have this experience. We're always going to have these kinds of losses. Now, what could she have done differently? She could have done follow-up checks, do a mite wash in July, make sure the formic was successful. That would have caught a bomb earlier and gave her a chance to keep these from progressing like they did. That said, that hive that had the 100% mite count, I can tell you that is a hygienic line. They hold themselves below 3% on their own over an entire year. Uh, they got flooded. They just got flooded with outside mites. One of the downsides of these varroa sensitive hygiene lines, no matter which version you're working with, they all have a bunch of their sensory genes activated. They have much better smelling capacity. And what that translates into is these bees are exceptional at identifying weak hives for robbing. So you'll always have that back end risk exposure. So anyway, best practices would be to have continued mite monitoring and treatments as necessary through the rest of the year. She had medical issues and simply was not able to get back out there. That's an honest mistake, and she might have thought she'd be fine just because those mite numbers were so well controlled earlier in the season, which is a common finding you'll have as people go, oh, my mites were good here, I didn't need to check them again later. But this kind of drives home the reality of how much these mite numbers can change. I really have a lot of faith in Formic Pro. I think it works very well. I think she probably had an apiary close to zero mites come the end of June. That gives these mite populations, let's do the math, July, August, September, October, and they probably died in November, in fairness. So they had a 4-month time period. Now, during that 4-month time period, that is 8 different varroa growth cycles, and they'll roughly double during each one of those cycles at most. If we look at that 92 count hive, hive had 31% loss. If it doubles each time, it was a 15, then a 7, then a 3.5, then a 1.5, then a zero point 0.7. So it gets into the realms of they can grow that fast. That's the ugly reality with these mite populations. If you have non-resistant lines, the numbers will grow very fast. Now, we don't have specifics. We don't have granular mite wash data on her hives to know how fast those numbers came back. But in my experience, and this is from working with other varroa-sensitive hygiene lines, is you can go from a 2% well into a fatal load, over double digits in a matter of a week. And it all depends on what they're getting into and what they're robbing from. The only real solutions to this are monitoring your hives and honestly using oxalic acid once it's broodless in those hives, which is, I think, one of the best things we can do as beekeepers. And I would actually return and shoot the last hive she had 2 days later. And they appear to be alive still, and we'll see what goes on as we go through this season. And with that, I'll wish you better luck and happy beaking.